Hey friends, welcome back. Today, I'm going to tell you a story that might just change the way you look at life. It's about how your thoughts shape your future, how giving is tied to receiving, and how one man's life turned around completely because of a single conversation. So grab a cup of coffee, sit back, and listen carefully, because this isn't just a story. It's a lesson you can use in your own life. There was once a boy named Ethan. He wasn't born lucky. He didn't grow up with money, opportunities, or connections. Instead, he found himself living day after day in a crowded train station, surviving by asking strangers for spare change. Every morning, as trains screeched into the station and passengers hurried to their destinations, Ethan would stretch out his hand and softly ask, "Spare some change, please, just a little, to help me get by." Some people ignored him. Some tossed a coin or two without even looking. And a few gave him sharp looks, as if his very presence was an inconvenience. This was Ethan's life, survival through begging. One day, as Ethan was sitting on the platform, he noticed a man step off a train. This man was different from everyone else. He wore a sharp suit, carried a leather briefcase, and walked with confidence. Wow, Ethan thought, this guy must be rich. If I ask him, maybe he'll give me a big note instead of just coins. So, with hope in his heart, Ethan approached the man and held out his hand. But instead of reaching for his wallet, the businessman stopped, looked Ethan in the eyes, and asked something unexpected. "Do you always just take from others? Tell me, have you ever given anything to anyone?" Ethan froze. Nobody had ever asked him that before. People usually just walked past him or dropped a coin in his hand. Confused, he stammered, "Sir, I'm just a beggar. I survive by asking for money. I don't have anything to give." The man gave a small smile and replied, "If you truly believe you have nothing to give, then you also have no right to ask. Life is built on exchange. If you can offer me something, then I can give you something in return. But if you give nothing, why should anyone give you anything either?" With that, the businessman boarded his train and disappeared. Ethan stood there, stunned. Those words hit him like lightning. That night, Ethan lay awake on a wooden bench at the station. The businessman's voice replayed in his mind. "If you want to receive, you must first give." He whispered to himself, "But what do I have to give? I own nothing. I'm just a beggar." But deep inside, a thought began to grow. Maybe I've been wrong all along. Maybe the reason people daren't give me much is because I never offer them anything in return. For the first time, Ethan didn't feel like a beggar. He felt like a man standing at the doorway of a new idea. 2 days passed. Ethan didn't ask anyone for money. He was lost in thought. On the third day, as he wandered near the edge of the tracks, he noticed something simple but beautiful. A patch of wildflowers blooming in the dirt. Their colors were bright and fresh, standing out against the dull gray of the station. Suddenly, an idea struck him. What if, every time someone gives me money, I give them a flower in return? It's small, but at least it's something. At least I'd be giving, not just taking. Excited, Ethan carefully picked a few flowers, held them in his hand, and went back to his spot on the platform. That evening, when a passenger dropped a coin into his palm, Ethan smiled warmly and said, "Thank you, sir. Please take a flower in return." The man looked surprised, but accepted it. A faint smile appeared on his face as he walked away holding the flower. The next person gave Ethan a coin, and again he offered a flower. This time, the woman actually stopped, looked at the flower, and said, "This is beautiful, thank you." For the first time in his life, Ethan didn't feel like a beggar. He felt like a giver. Over the next few weeks, something amazing happened. People started to notice Ethan. They didn't see him as just another beggar anymore. They saw a young man giving something small but meaningful in return for their money. And strangely enough, when Ethan had flowers, people gave more generously. When he ran out of flowers, the donations dropped. Ethan realized the truth. People don't just want to give, they want to exchange. They want to feel like they're part of something fair. And for the first time, Ethan understood. He wasn't begging anymore. He was trading. One day, while Ethan was handing out flowers, he saw a familiar face through the train window. It was the businessman. Heart pounding with excitement, Ethan rushed over and said, "Sir, today I have something to give you. If you give me money, I'll give you flowers in return." The man chuckled, handed him some bills, and accepted the flowers. Then he looked at Ethan and said, "You've understood the secret. You are no longer a beggar. You've become a businessman." As the train pulled away, Ethan stood tall, holding the businessman's words in his heart. That night, Ethan thought long and hard. "I'm not a beggar anymore. I'm a trader. People don't give me money out of pity. They pay me for the flowers I offer. That means I have a business." The next morning, Ethan made a bold decision. He left the railway station. Instead of begging, he began gathering flowers, arranging them neatly, and offering them to travelers as a small bouquet. Day by day, his income grew. Weeks turned into months. Ethan saved enough to rent a small stall near the station. He bought fresh flowers from farmers and sold them to commuters. What began as a handful of wildflowers turned into a thriving business. 6 months later, in the very same station, two well-dressed men crossed paths. They shook hands politely. One of them tilted his head, studying the other's face. "Wait a second. Do I know you?" The other man smiled. "Yes. We've met twice before. Once, when you refused to give me money. And once, when you bought flowers from me." The businessman's eyes widened in shock. "You were the beggar." "That was you," Ethan laughed softly. "Yes, that was me. But today, I'm no longer a beggar. I run a successful flower business. In fact, I'm on my way to expand it into another city." The businessman was stunned. "That's incredible. What changed?" Ethan replied, "You taught me one of life's greatest truths. We only receive when we give." That day, I realized I wasn't a beggar at all. I was a businessman all along. I just had to start thinking like one. The two men shook hands again, this time as equals. Then they boarded their trains, each heading toward a future shaped by their choices. Life is shaped by how we see ourselves. If you believe you're small, weak, or incapable, then you'll stay that way. But the moment you recognize your inner potential, the moment you start seeing yourself as capable, worthy, and strong, your whole world begins to change. Ethan wasn't born successful. He didn't inherit wealth. He wasn't lucky. What he had was a shift in mindset, and that changed everything. So remember, your greatness is determined by your thoughts. If you want to receive, you must first give. And if you want to succeed, start by changing how you see yourself. If this story inspired you, don't just keep it to yourself. Give it a like, share it with a friend, and comment below what lesson you learned today. And remember, success isn't about where you start, it's about how you think. I'll see you in the next story. Until then, stay inspired.